Hello and welcome to the Virtual Handshake. This training is designed to help you understand how to implement proven selling strategies. I'm talking about selling strategies that work in the real world, offline when real people speak to one another, and how to translate that into the online world and simulate those exact experiences, but do it through a selling medium like a website or a web page or even a social media page. So we're going to be focusing on online, but we're going to be talking about proven strategies that have worked well throughout history, really. So let's do this first of all by switching our hat. Now, I'm going to assume I'm talking to you now as a business owner or a salesperson or entrepreneur, or whatever title that you give to yourself or whatever title you have. Let's shift for a moment and think about the buyer. And we are all buyers. We all consume things on a regular basis, so we know what it's like to be on the receiving end of a good salesperson and not so good salespeople. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a pleasant buying experience? Now, that question might seem a little off because it's very easy for all of us to complain about poor buying experiences when we're dealing with a bad company or a bad sales rep or bad customer service. But that doesn't always happen. There are some very good examples of companies that are doing it right. So I want you to just think for a minute. Maybe it was recently, or maybe it was a little while ago that you bought something or you went through a buying cycle with a company or a provider, and the experience was really good. It was really positive. Think for a moment on that and try to recall at least one of the more recent times that's happened to you. I'm sure you've had a few of these. I hope you have. And let's think about it at a higher level. The buying process is pretty simple when it all comes down to it. Really, when you're a buyer, you have some kind of need that needs to be filled. You have a desire for something or you have a problem that needs to be solved, and you actively seek out a provider who can help you fill that need or solve that problem. And really, there's all kinds of intricate details that go into that conversation, that go into you finding the right provider, the right vendor, the right solution. But at the end of the day, the highest level, the most simplistic way of explaining all of this is one of your needs is being filled when you buy something. So it could be something very, very basic, like going to the grocery store and buying something you want to eat, or it could be something a lot more complex, like fulfilling a huge problem or solving a huge problem in your business that's costing you money or time or something even worse than that. So the buying experience in general, that it's basically broken down as simplistic as possible here for the topic of our discussion as filling a need. Now, let me actually take this to an example level for you. I want to talk about, for me personally, a time where I was in the buying role, and as a business owner, I was looking for a new company server, a server that we could use, a dedicated server to host company websites, different products that we wanted to sell online. And when you purchase a server, as you may know, if you're a business owner who has a website or has any kind of online aspects to your business, you know that buying a server is not a very cheap thing to do. It can be very, very expensive depending on your needs and your requirements. And there are tons and tons of choices out there. There's all kinds of companies that are available right now that want to sell you a server. And so that process itself can be complex. Well, in my case, I was lucky enough to have access to somebody who gave me a referral to a really good hosting company, at least according to them, that had great service, had a good product, i.e., good servers, and backed it up with a long-standing track record and so on. And so, for most of us, when we buy something, whether it's a vacation, we're renting a cottage as an example, or maybe we're making a purchase for a new laptop computer or some electronics for our home or whatever. It could be anything. It could be clothing. We often like to get opinions or advice from other people who have gone through and dealt with that vendor. So just like that kind of conversation, same thing happened to me. Talked to a friend of mine. He's also a business owner. He said, these people are really good at what they do. They've hooked me up with some really good servers in the past. I've been very happy. And so that buying experience was started off on a pretty good foot for me because I had that referral. So I got in touch, in this case, with the CEO of the hosting company. It wasn't a huge, huge company, and because I had this referral from somebody who was a little bit more important, let's say, to that hosting company, I got access right to their CEO. And it was a great buying experience from the very first conversation because this CEO did not get on the phone and immediately just start selling all or telling me of all these things they could sell me. We could sell you this, and you might want to buy this and that. She didn't do that at all. She sat down and asked me, what is it that I need? and she asked me all kinds of questions about the type of business we're doing and the type of traffic numbers we're expecting and the growth numbers that we foresee in the immediate future and the far future, what kind of numbers we see and all that. So she really took time to understand where we were coming from, what we need, what our budget was, what kind of expectations we had from a hosting company. And immediately, as the buyer, I felt better because there was no solution, there was nothing pitched to me. It was literally just a conversation where I was answering a lot of questions. Based on that conversation, she said, we definitely can help you out, because she took time to listen to what I needed, and she was confident, because she knew her business very well, that she could indeed provide me with a server that could fulfill our needs. And so she then passed me over to a sales rep, trained sales rep on her company, that could sit down and put together a package that met my needs. So this was a very encouraging experience for me. I felt like I was understood. I felt like I was being listened to. Then I was put in touch with a salesperson who was there to give me the best possible deal. And then further to that, I went ahead and eventually invested with this company and got a server with them. And things went really well. The customer experience was great. My server was set up in a very short period of time. I had somebody follow up to make sure I was happy. All of these things that you would expect a good company to do, they did. After a couple of months, we started using their service. Inevitably, problems happen, things come up, and we needed to call on their support team on a fairly frequent basis. They gave excellent support. They solved our problems in a timely fashion. In one particular example, they had made a mistake without getting into the details, they installed something on our server and it wasn't configured the right way, and some of our websites had outages, and we were down for, I think it was up to a day. Well, instead of just saying, sorry about your luck, hopefully we don't do it again, because I was in touch with the CEO, she went out of her way to ensure that our fees were waived for that month, to make sure that we were happy, and that she knew that, she wanted to know that we were happy with our experience with them. And for me, from a loyalty perspective, I just think about the psychology of that. I was a little bit frustrated. They solved the problem quickly, and then they went above and beyond to say, you know what, you don't have to pay for this month because it was our mistake, and we value that much as a customer. So these are, I'm just relating to a very good buying experience for me. And again, I'm sure you've had some of your own. But this is very basic business type of skill development. If you want to run a successful company, these are the things you need to do. Make sure your customers are happy. Make sure there's follow through, not just before the sale, but after the sale. Make sure there's a long-term commitment to their success, their happiness, and that you cultivate a type of relationship so they come back to you again and again, and hopefully they refer customers to you. And just like the person who referred them to me, now I am becoming a referrer, and I tell people about this company all of the time because I've had such a great experience with them. Sure, they make mistakes, and sure, there's some times where there's a little bit of frustration, but at the end of the day, they stand by their products and they do an excellent job, a better job than I'm sure a lot of the other companies out there. And so I'm happy being a customer, and I'm happy referring business to them. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the buying experience. A lot of us, when it comes to selling online in the virtual world, we forget about this. We forget about these basic skills that we have to incorporate into selling, whether we're doing it in person or whether we're selling on the internet. So, having said all of that, let's talk about the 6 elements of virtual selling. And I'm talking about the elements that allow any business owner to recreate what I just talked about here, a real world selling experience, but to do it online. And there are 6 main things, and we're going to be going through each of these in each individual module. So after this introduction, you're going to be opening up the next module, which will be its own video, and we're going to be talking about each one of these 1 through 6. The first one is positioning. Getting into the market and creating offers that meet the needs of your customers, and getting into a market that actually spends money. You have to make sure that you position yourselves on both ends of this equation. Secondly, we're going to be talking about the framework of virtual selling, having an overall structure to sell within, and to do it in a way that's going to give you the most benefit as a seller, but also create a really good buying experience for your customer. Third, connection. The importance of creating a personal relationship with people. If you own a store, or if you're dealing with people face to face, obviously you go out of your way to try to connect with that person, not just about the item they're about to buy from you, but at any level you possibly can. Any common connections you can make as a salesperson will help you in that sales cycle, both short term and long term. We cannot forget to also do this in the online world. Personal relationships are everything when it comes to selling. Number 4, We're going to talk about a methodology or a philosophy, whatever you want to call it, called slow money thinking. And we're going to get into the details of this. So I'm going to leave you hanging a little bit, but it deals with the lifetime value of a customer. And it's thinking long term and not so much short term, which can be a little bit of a backwards way of thinking for some people, especially if you're new to business and you're trying to generate revenue really, really quickly. Number 5, how to earn trust. And I'm talking about earning trust in the long run, so establishing long-term credibility. It's one thing to be credible today in the here and now, just like in my example with that CEO of the hosting company. She did a great job selling me and convincing me that they were the right company because she listened to me and she understood my needs. But she also went above and beyond in the long term to make sure I continued to be happy month after month. And now it's been a number of years and I'm still happy. That's long-term credibility, and that doesn't happen by accident. And then finally, number 6 is innovation. When it comes to virtual selling or any kind of selling, you need to be able to grow and adapt and to lead your clients. How are you changing? How are you growing your skill set, your offers, and what it is you do for your clients so that you don't become stagnant and you're always delivering new value to them? It's one thing to deliver value once and have your client walk away, but how about coming back over and over and over again, relentlessly helping them solve new problems and understand our changing world, which is changing faster than it ever has before. So those are the 6 main elements of this course. The following 6 videos will cover one by one these 6 points that I've just covered at a high level. So without further ado, please skip ahead to the next video. We'll be discussing the first topic of positioning.